It's dawn in Italy as the Tuscan sun sleeps below the frozen mountains. The gates of hell are soon to open and 114 riders are about to tackle the Italian countryside. 4 brutal qualifying laps with a timed special test section will determine the top 30 riders for the night main event. One by one, the riders set off into the gloom of the Italian mountainside. Qualifying at Hell's Gate is more about racing the clock and less about racing your competitor. These morning laps give the racers a chance to acclimatise themselves to the day's racing terrain. With massive amounts of water, mud and snow covering the 40-kilometre track, qualifying for this year's main event is a task in itself. And these boys still have the main event ahead of them. Now in its 12th year, Hell's Gate Metzler has made its name as one of the most physically grueling stops on the Hard-Enduro circuit. Yet the top riders keep coming back year after year. And today, 114 riders will be pushed to their limits, going for the win and the right to say they reached the top of hell.
The name Hell's Gate couldn't be any more perfect if it tried. It is just hell. You're on your bike for maybe 8 hours in the whole day, if you're lucky. It is hell.
I do come here and enjoy it, but you know it's really tough and physical, so you know that kind of takes the fun side out of things, but you know it's definitely one that I'll come back to in years to come.
The mastermind behind this devilish race is former Italian enduro champion Fabio Fazzola.
I created this gate in 2004. I want to make a race that was completely different from the other race, because my idea was not to make it like the race, the normal race, like enduro race or the world champion or Italian champions. But the idea was to make a race where the rider have to suffer.
In the 11-year race history, only 5 people have ever climbed Hell's Peak to win, and 4-time champion Graham Jarvis hopes to keep that streak alive.
It's an event I really love. You know, the terrain's really beautiful, real natural riding up some really nice streams, and similar to home really. I think that's why I like it so much. And it's not all good fun though. You know, it's a really long day, cold as well in the morning, and finishing in the night as well. It's one of probably the toughest race of the year, definitely.
But the 4-time winner will have some of the most talented competition in the 12-year race history, with any number of riders having a chance to take the win here.
We are like 5 top riders.
Johnny Graham, Gomez, me.
Who can fight for the victory, I think.
For me it's very important to come up Hell's Peak.
I think the most important thing is here in the head, because it's a very long day tomorrow.
Yeah, very important is also a podium position, but you know, anything can happen in the race.
But before they have the opportunity to crawl up Hell's Peak, they need to qualify in the top 30. Let's check in with how they're doing. As the riders reach the special test section of the track, this is where the speed really matters. They have 4 laps to log their fastest times, which will set the positions for the afternoon's main event. Qualifying is coming to an end, and this year's event has already taken its toll on the competitors. KTM factory rider Andreas Lessenbichler has ridden consistently throughout qualifying. The veteran knows the main event is where he needs to focus.
Half time is done from Hell's Gate. Qualifying was good. I think it was a little bit too tough for the hobbyists. Only 14 riders are in the main race now. The weather is horrible, and you know, now is the race, and we'll see what happens.
With the morning stage of the race completed, the weather has wreaked havoc on the field. With a total of 30 spots available for the evening race, only 14 riders were able to finish qualification and make it here to the main event. The fastest time of the day goes to the dark horse Mario Roman from Spain, with four-time champion Graham Jarvis in second and journeyman racer Lars-Enekal from Austria taking the third best time of the day. The unsung heroes of these hard-enduro races are the mechanics. They are the first team members on site and they are the last to leave. Let's catch up with four of the top mechanics in hard-enduro and get an inside look into the top athletes in the game.
Hi, my name is Damien Butler. I am the factory mechanic for Husqvarna and my rider is Graham Jarvis.
Mein Name ist Michael Henschel. Ich bin der Mechaniker von Andreas Lettenbichler.
My name is Seb Fortanier. I am the mechanic of Johnny Walker from KTM.
My name is Spitzer Bernhard and I'm working for Alfredo Gomez.
You think Johnny made my job today? No way.
Definitely I can do Graham's job, but he for sure can't do mine, because the bike would never see the finish line.
Nein, das können wir nicht.
It's quite simple to fill up the fuel tank, everybody can do that.
What can I do for Graham that he doesn't realise? Everything. Because Graham just thinks the bike just appears.
One thing I need to change about Johnny is need to be more organised before the race.
He's just asking for the bike. For food and personal stuff, he always has his dad and his uncle with him, and so he's just fine with that.
Do I feel like I have to babysit Graham? Every single day.
He come to the pit and he's pissed because the goggle was not ready.
Was ich am liebsten mag, ist, dass immer ehrlich und direkt ist. Sagt, wenn ihm das nicht passt.
Jetzt und schau nicht. My favorite thing on Alfredo, to work with Alfredo, is because he's a really calm guy.
My favorite thing about Johnny is he's never stressed. Never, ever.
What's one thing Graham always needs to have at a race is a bag of jelly babies. Without them, he will definitely not finish the race.
Hey, go, go.
This is it. The main event is about to start and hell has frozen over. Only 14 of the possible 30 qualifying spots have been filled, proving this is going to be a race for the ages.
Now we have the main event, the final. When raining, it's crazy now and close to snow, I think, but I think for me it's not so bad. I like hard races, so will be funny.
We're in the middle of the day at Hell's Gate now. I think there's only 14 riders left after this morning, so it's going to be a dead tough night race. The race starts when Fabio drops the flag and we all go firing into the first right-hand corner. It's going to be a long night, I think.
So depending where you finished on the qualifying this morning, I'm not sure if they're sending us through that big puddle as well, which could be really so deep now. It could be really dangerous.
The snow is falling and the tension builds. The top 14 riders are on the starting line. It's a supermoto start and the flag is about to drop. From fourth position, Husqvarna team rider Alfredo Gomez sneaks into the corner and pinches his way past KTM rider Lars-Enekal for the whole shot. Coming into the first difficult section of the race, we've reached Salamandra. The pack of leading riders is tight. Alfredo Gomez has maintained his lead, with Lars-Enekal trailing closely behind, and he's followed by Graham Jarvis. Here, Walker takes the high line and passes Mario Roman. He moves into third. The higher they climb, the worse the weather gets. The heavy snowfall only adds to the difficulty of keeping up with the early leaders. 20 minutes in, Gomez still leads, but he realises he has a problem. He's lost his seat. With no one to help, Alfredo watches his lead disappear as rider after rider passes him, making his chance for a top finish vanish before his eyes.
Engine is broken.
Back to the action, Graham Jarvis has inherited the lead at the end of lap 1. The four-time champion has reached Cascada first, pushing the trailing riders behind him, as Golden Boy Johnny Walker stays on the tail of the returning champion. Keeping up with the leader, Lars Ennekel carefully manipulates his way down the slippery waterfall section of Cascada, followed closely by the Spaniard Mario Roman. Any rider falling 40 minutes behind the leader from this point is eliminated from the competition.
10 minutes riding, I feel that my seat is moving, but in a big uphill I lose it. Then I ride the stand-up, but the water came inside the air filter and the engine is broken.
Charging into his second lap, Graham Jarvis blows past the pits, looking to extend his lead. Walker is hot on his tail. With the heavy rain, a waist-deep section of water has formed. The silent assassin goes down. He's drowned his bike in the freezing water. Last year's champion can do nothing but watch as the rest of the field pass him as he tries to get his bike restarted. Johnny Walker is the new race leader as he takes advantage of Graham's mistake.
Drowned it. Joking.
The pit crew frantically work and Jarvis has to sit and wait, knowing each second that passes, his fellow competitors are moving further away. Jarvis is back on his bike, but that error has cost him over 20 minutes of time, which is a huge margin in a race like this.
Halski! Halski!
Riding at night is a key element to racing Hell's Gate, and what lights you bring could make or break your race.
Yeah, this is the only race all year that we end up racing at night, and it's definitely tough because it's the only one time you do it, so you never really train that hard doing it.
We do normally about an hour in the dark, something probably not many people experience, but it is one of the toughest laps you're ever going to do.
The morning you get so much good riding, and then at night it's the same again, fast riding but goes into the dark, and which puts a different light on an extreme enduro. For this year I'm going to be running 3 of the Hope R4s, 2 on the front which are mounted on the braces of the handlebars, and this third one which I'll be strapping to the helmet on the side there, just so that when I look it will obviously illuminate where I look. But with this setup, the beam spread is quite wide, so it's like having a car in front of you. It's very important to have a good light system here because it can be quite nasty if you can't see where you're going.
So this is the standard Husqvarna light, but we've got a more powerful one for the afternoon. And then I think Damo's got something for the handlebars. Damo, what you got for the handlebars?
Can't tell you, that's a secret.
Oh, it's top secret, he's not telling us. So we've got a light on the helmet here, it's fit quite tidy into the peak there. I just thought it'd be better under the peak, just because obviously if you're hitting trees and stuff, it might get knocked off. You can see the cable comes out round there, back into the helmet, so there's nothing loose and flapping about where it's going to get caught. So I think I'm going to switch 2 laps before the end, and it'll be like a Formula 1 pit stop.
It's really important riding at night to have a good field of vision. I've got 2 of these on the helmet, so when I look to the side I can see where I'm going. This big one looks straight in front, down, and then this other little one on the bike points a little bit higher, so you know you've got a big field of vision like this. I'm using the Hope brand, which is like a really good make. I think riding with these lights at night is just the same as riding in the day. You know, I don't go any slower when I've been testing, so you know I'm looking forward to racing tomorrow night.
Back to the race and into lap 3 of 4. Darkness has taken over as Johnny Walker has built a 7-minute lead over the chasing pack. However, the Cinderella stories of second-place Mario Roman and third-place Lars Ennekel continue as they charge forward. They're hoping for a Walker mistake and a chance for one of them to take their first hard-enduro victory. In the shadows of the night, Hell's Gate has finally conquered the world's #1 rider, Graham Jarvis. He is forced out the race.
Yeah, it was just a bit of a disaster, really. I did the first lap and having a good fight with Johnny, and then there was just a big puddle on a corner, and I just picked the wrong line, and then just lost my footing and dropped the whole bike into, and then couldn't really get it going. It was a good 20 minutes. Had to push it back to the car park and try and get it going. Eventually got going, but I just lost too much time and couldn't get it back.
With the majority of the field eliminated, the race turned into a three-man battle between Walker, Roman and Ennekel. Heading into the final lap of the race, Walker is still riding smoothly with close to an 11-minute lead over second-place Mario Roman. The only thing stopping Walker from his first victory is the infamous Hell's Peak. 4 years in the making, Johnny Walker finally arrives to Hell's Peak in the lead. Physically drained, the Englishman charges forward up the unrideable final section of the race.
Come on, Johnny!
With the help of the faithful Italian fans, four-time runner-up Johnny Walker has finally conquered Hell's Peak and takes home his first victory in Italy.
That was obviously the hardest race I've ever done in my life. I've never done anything like that, and you know, to get to the finish first, unbelievable. My legs, like, I can't even feel them, they're shaking. I knew I just had to push hard because it was hard to make so much time with the snow coming down, so I pushed and no one caught me, so I'm happy.
Mario Roman arrives second to Hell's Peak, with Ennekel minutes behind him. As the Spaniard struggles, Ennekel appears at the bottom of the final section. Screaming up the hill, Lars hits Mario's tow rope, causing him to fall back down the hill, leaving him no choice but to watch as the Spaniard gets pulled into second place. Mario Roman has conquered Hell's Gate on his first trip to Italy and takes an impressive second place in one of the most difficult races in the event's history. And rounding out the top three, Lars Ennekel pushed as hard as he could, but came up just short and must settle for the final spot on the podium.
I push as hard as I can, but anyway, I get the second place. Quite surprised because it's my first whole year in extreme events, and I'm surprised, yes.
I'm really tired, but I feel great. Like a dream come true for me. I was now here for a few times and I could never make it to the finish, not nearly to the finish, and yeah, today was working awesome and so happy, can't describe it.
The 2015 edition of Hell's Gate Metzler will be one to remember, with Johnny Walker finally taking the win, overcoming the rain, the mud and the miserable conditions, and prove he is a true champion of Hell's Gate. After 3 years of being a runner-up, Johnny Walker can finally call himself a champion of the event. In the world rankings, Johnny Walker has taken an early lead over the ever-competitive field and hopes he can keep his momentum moving in his home race. Next stop for the riders is the tough one in England, where they test the limits of man and machine once again. I'm Josh Bloom saying thanks for joining us and see you next time on Hard Enduro.